So today we're talking about survey reports. What are they and how can you use them as an investor? So a survey report is a report that you get on a property. So let's say you're looking at buying a property in a specific town, for example, and you're not really sure what the property is like, whether or not it's a good deal and whether or not it will bring a good return on investment for you. So you get a report done which will highlight different issues really. So it can look at whether there's damp in the property, so it will highlight for you which areas in the property have damp, which is a cost that you will need to take into account when you're looking at your deal and deciding whether it's a good deal or not for you. It will also highlight things like leakages in the roof, for example, which can be costly in the long run if you're planning on keeping the property. It can show also when the ground is not stable or whether there's a tilt, or let's say if it was a previously mined area, what are the issues, what are the flood risks in that area. And so you want to get a survey report for your property because it will help you decide whether you have a good deal or not. Now, it might sound like it is a cost and it's a lot of work initially, but it is worth it. So you want that expert to tell you if there is risk with that property or if you should go ahead and if it's a good deal. Now, it does cost about 300 to about 1,000 depending on the area and the size of the property, but it is well worth it, and you should be prepared to pay that amount and be prepared to lose it as well in case it's not a good deal for you. You would have saved yourself in the long run because you can end up paying so much more. Let's say if you didn't know if the property had a lot of damp, now you have to damp proof or strip back to the brick on the property. So it will actually potentially save you from spending so much more. It will also tell you if the area is a good area to invest in. So let's say if there is a lot of flood risk in the area, in the long run, if you want to keep the property, that is, for example, is it going to cost you to try and keep that property? Are you always going to have floods if it rains heavily? And also it impacts the insurance costs. So insurers know where these properties are and the risks with these properties in different areas. So your premiums will go up if it's in an area like that or an area with issues, but they will be lower, the premiums, if it's in a good area. So it's something for you to think about. This is an example of a survey report I've done on one of the deals I was looking at. So you can have a look. You can see here it shows clearly what the critical areas are on the property, what issues should be rectified, and things that you need to take into account. Now, how did I use this report? Personally, I wanted to make sure that there were no issues with the property because I'm not an expert builder or someone who knows the ins and outs of the property structures like that. So I wanted someone who's an expert to tell me. And how I ended up using this, so I didn't actually just ditch the deal. I took this report and went back to the vendor and told the vendor, look, this is what the property looks like. We're going to have to negotiate the price because this was not visible when I came to view the property. It had damp, and because it was post-Christmas, so there wasn't a lot of traffic after I had put in the offer. So when the surveyor went, now all the damp started to show, there was moisture, and I showed the vendor this report. That helped me reduce the purchase price of that property in order to be able to buy it. So if you have a look, this is an example of an email that I sent out to the vendor, clearly showing that these are the issues, the cost that I will have to incur to rectify this. Now, when you do start to negotiate and you have a specific figure you're going for, be sure that is the figure that you want to get to, and be prepared to walk away if you don't get it, because you will just look silly if you try to negotiate and then don't stand by that number, and it has to make sense as well. So be prepared to walk away, and I was prepared to walk away from this deal because financially it wasn't going to make sense for me. So I went back to the vendor. Of course, with negotiations it's a bit of back and forth, but eventually we managed to negotiate it down to this price, which is quite a good deal. So it's a very small property. I thought I wanted a small project just to flip with good numbers on it, and I managed to get the price down. So it's something for you to think about. I know a lot of investor friends as well that have walked away from deals after they got the report, because you actually end up realizing that it's better you just spend that money on the report than have to spend so much more money and time trying to rectify all those issues that you were not aware of. So something for you to think about. I hope that's been of value. Cheers.